So we finally got into our first official test and tune session last night. We ran it over to Buffalo Valley, and the plan was to put 1 or 2 easy passes on it, do a plug read, jet change, and then go from there. Didn't quite go as planned. The place was really crowded. We had time to make 4 passes total. So just give you the rundown real quick on the runs and what we learned from it and the changes that we're going to make. So first run was left easy, about 3,000 RPM or so. Actually, it was a little tricky because Buffalo Valley is uphill. And I didn't realize this because I never staged a stick car there before. So as I'm staging, I got the lights on and the car starts rolling back. Well, that's not good, right? So I was really too busy focusing on the car rolling back to get it off the line cleanly. It doesn't make any difference. Left somewhere around 3,000 RPM. Car bites really good. These tires, the suspension, dead on perfect. But she had a major bog immediately afterwards. So we got off the starting line. On the hit was great, and then she kind of nosed over. Then it picked up, power shifted second, all of that was good. It motored clean for her. Second run, we figured, I pulled the plugs, and it looked like it was fat. Now, it was hard to judge because those are the same plugs that have been in the car since the first time we started this engine. So it's kind of hard to judge. So very, very humid, very muggy, so we decided to try, there was 77s in it, we decided to try 73s. So I made the second run. This time I left it about 4,000 RPM. Was cleaner off the clutch, but it's still bogged. Right off the starting line, she just. So you got to picture this now. Revs come up, right, and then goes. Power shifted second, clean, pulled all the way through, and that was actually the best run of the night. It was like a 919 or something like that. But major bog there. Got around to the pits, we pulled the plugs. We had John Wilburn and Buff Del Campo came to give us a hand last night. So these guys, they pulled the plugs, did all of that. We went to read them, and white, lean white. So, okay, we threw the 77s back in. And I thought the car felt a little lazier upstairs. Like usually, once you get into second gear, it marches. And that time it didn't really march the way it but it was lean. So we threw the 77s back in it. The third run, we decided we're going to try to slip the clutch a little bit and see what happens there. And brought it up to around 4,000, 4,500, come off the clutch easy, right? So I swapped feet easy. It slipped the clutch, it still didn't have the oomph. But when I went for second, it pulled out of first easy, but it didn't want to go into second. And I was smelling clutch, so I overheated the clutch. So when I went to make the shift, pulled it back, the disc didn't release completely. There was still, tension there. There was still some friction there, and it didn't allow it to go in. I am going to slick shift this transmission, but I'll do it over the winter. So that was it. We blew second gear. Third run, same thing. I tried leaving it about 4,500 RPM, some slip on the clutch to avoid that bog, but again, and I felt it as I was staging the car, as I was bringing the RPM up, I felt it kind of shudder against the clutch, like it wasn't really releasing. And I had the pedal on the floor, so there just was no more give there. Same thing, smelled clutch, went to bang second. It was just like shifting into a brick. So, and that was it. We were just flush out of time for the rest of the night. But the bog, we were trying to figure out the bog. So this is what we come to. Afterwards, as we're loading it up, John Wilburn and Buff and I were sitting there, we're discussing what's going on. I'm saying, it needs more gear. The 410 isn't enough to pull the car. Now remember, the 410 is in there because we plan on spraying this thing. If it was going to be a normally aspirated combination, it would have 456s, 488s, something along those lines. It's got 410s in it. And it's got a tall tire. You have to excuse the noises of the neighborhood here. It's Sunday morning. So we're saying, yeah, it needs more gear. We'll swap to 456s and come back. On the way home, I had an epiphany and I realized it's not that. We have a vacuum secondary carburetor on those cars, a 750 vacuum secondary. And on the street, where there's no traction, the car will literally freewheel. You come off the clutch really easy and lay into it, and it's right there, right? It'll spin the tires, the revs come up, there's no flat spots, there's no dead spots or anything like that. And that would be indicative of needing gearing, right? But here's what's happening. With the stick, when I'm bringing up the RPM on the starting line, so let's say I get to like 4,000 RPM, I'm only barely opening the throttle a hair, right? So you got to picture this now. With staging, the throttle's about yay open, and that's all it takes for the thing to be unloaded at about 4,000 RPM. Now, we swap feet, we come off on the clutch, and we stand up on the throttle, right? So what's happening is we're getting the primaries open, but the primaries are opening after the clutch has already engaged. It'll start to bring the motor down. At that point, the secondaries are supposed to be opening, but they're not. What's happening is we're opening the throttle, come off the clutch, the car bites, motor comes down a little bit, secondaries aren't open, and now it has to overcome that drag with only 325 CFM because we're not getting any secondary at that point. Secondary is open and she's all there. And again, like I said, it pulled the initial hit, perfect, suspension, tires, couldn't be better. And then from the middle of first gear, through the power shift to second, all the way through, car motors through beautifully. But it just falls on its face. So what we're doing is, last night we had the vacuum secondary 750 on there. And this morning, I got up at 4 in the morning. I was like, oh, got to work on a car, right? I put this together real quick. This is it's an 850 double pump, double feed. So this is what's going to go on the car for the next time around. I'm pretty sure the issues with the clutch and not getting it into second net, I'm pretty sure that was just my slipping the clutch a little too much, overheating the clutch. It is a street disc. It has that Marcel. It is prone to expanding. That's probably what happened. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. The rest of the car, the tires are perfect. They work without a burnout. All I did was just clean the tires. So rev it up, roll it through the water, get it just to the damp spot, sidestep the clutch, let them spin, and whoa, she just grabbed. I mean, it was perfect. So these tires are working on this car without a burnout. At the clutch drop, the car just sticks and goes. It's perfect. So these tires are staying on the car. I'm a radial believer now. Never had a radial on a car before. Always bias tires. These things are amazing. And driving the car, like up towards the big end of the track, man, just like you driving on the interstate, smooth and everything, no waving, no wagging or anything like that. I love these tires. They're awesome. The suspension setup on the car turns out it's dead nuts perfect. We're not going to change it at all. So, plan is get this carburetor on it, get it dialed in. When I say dialed in, just get it to where it's starting and idling and doing everything it's supposed to. We'll do the jetting once we get to the track for the next time. So the plan is to get this carburetor on the car and go from there. What I want to see from this is consistent lower 8s. If I can hit this thing in the 850 to 830 range, 820 range consistently motor, that's when we'll know it's time to start spraying it, and that's when the fun will start. But we're moving along. I guess that's it. Buff, John, thank you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.